Welcome to this deep dive into the world of business analytics. It's the kind of stuff that helps businesses make those smarter decisions and, really thrive in this data-driven world. Today, we're going to take a journey through the core principles of business analytics. We'll see how companies create value and dive into the world of data, big data that is. And then we'll unpack this powerful framework called the SOR model, which is kind of like a roadmap for making sense of all that data. Ever notice how companies like Amazon, they just seem to know exactly what you want before you even do? That's business analytics in action. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the fundamentals. Let's talk about business value. What makes a business tick? What contributes to its financial health and ultimately its success?
Well, at its heart, business value is all about generating those positive outcomes for a company, especially when it comes to, its financial well-being. Think of it as the engine that drives a company's growth and sustainability.
So it's not just about profits, right? There are other factors at play.
Exactly. Take a company like Tesla, for example. Their move into the Chinese electric vehicle market, that's a great example of a strategic decision that generates business value. It's not just about immediate profits. It's about long-term growth and market dominance.
It's like playing chess, thinking several moves ahead.
Precisely. And consider DoorDash. Their entire driver payment system, with independent contractors making those deliveries, it's designed to create value for both the company and the drivers. It's a win-win.
And even something as simple as, handling customer complaints effectively, like offering those refunds, that plays a role in maintaining a company's financial health, right?
Absolutely. All these everyday actions, when they're coordinated and standardized, they form what we call business processes, and those processes directly contribute to creating that all-important business value.
It's fascinating how these small actions, they can have such a big impact on a company's success. Now, we can't talk about business in today's world without addressing the elephant in the room, or should I say the data lake in the server room. The amount of data in the world has been exploding since 2010. We're talking zettabytes, folks, which is basically a 1 with 21 zeros after it. This brings us to big data, that massive, ever-growing universe of information. It's transforming the way businesses operate. And it's not just about the sheer volume of data, it's also about the speed, the variety, the accuracy of that data. You know how you get bombarded with personalized ads online? Well, that's big data in action. Companies are collecting tons of data about your browsing habits at lightning speed just to target you with the right products.
Yeah, that's a great example of how velocity and variety, two of the key characteristics of big data, come into play. And let's not forget about veracity, or the accuracy and the trustworthiness of that data. Companies need to make sure they're using reliable data to make those informed decisions.
So how do businesses navigate this sea of information and extract those meaningful insights? That's where our data specialists, the business analysts, come in.
Yeah, think of business analysts as data detectives. They piece together clues from mountains of data to solve those business mysteries. They sift through the noise, identify patterns, analyze trends, and then present their findings in a way that everyone can understand.
So they're like the interpreters of the data world, bridging the gap between the technical and the practical.
Exactly. The International Institute of Business Analysis, or IBA for short, defines a business analyst as someone who plays a crucial role in discovering, synthesizing, and analyzing information to understand what stakeholders truly need and then deliver solutions that meet those needs. They're the link between data and action.
It's amazing how they can take all that raw data and turn it into something actionable. But in a world overflowing with data, how does this abundance both empower and challenge these data detectives?
That's a great question. On one hand, more data means more potential insights, which can lead to better decisions. But on the other hand, it can also lead to what we call data overload, where there's just so much information that it becomes overwhelming and difficult to make sense of it all.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. How do you even begin to sift through all that?
That's where the distinction between data and information becomes crucial. Data in its raw form, it's like a jumble of letters. It's only when you arrange those letters into meaningful words and sentences that you get information, something you can actually understand and use.
So how do we transform that raw data into valuable knowledge that drives decision-making?
Think of it as an information value chain. It starts with raw data, which is then given context, transforming it into usable information. This information, when processed and understood, becomes valuable knowledge, which empowers those decision-making.
So if we were to look at a massive collection of tweets about the new Toyota RAV4, how could these seemingly random opinions be transformed into actionable knowledge that actually influences decisions at Toyota?
That's where our data dream team comes in. The decision-maker who needs information to steer the ship, the data scientist who dives deep into the data and crunches the numbers, and the business analyst who acts as the interpreter. Bridging the gap between the technical world of data science and the practical needs of the business.
It sounds like a well-choreographed dance, with each player having a crucial role. But if there was a specific business problem to be solved, who would be better equipped to identify the most relevant data, the data scientist or the business analyst?
That's a tricky one. Both roles bring those unique skills to the table. The data scientist is a master of algorithms and statistical techniques, while the business analyst understands the nuances of the business and can connect the dots between data and those real-world problems.
So it's not just about having data, it's about having the right data and knowing how to interpret it correctly. Now let's shift gears and talk about how business analytics is applied across different departments within a company. Because business analytics isn't a one-size-fits-all approach.
You're absolutely right. Each department has its own unique questions and challenges. Marketing analytics, for instance, focuses on understanding customer preferences and trends. They might analyze data to target advertising campaigns or personalize those online shopping experiences.
So it's all about using data to create a more tailored experience for the customer.
Exactly. Then there's accounting analytics, which assists in auditing and financial reporting. It's all about ensuring accuracy and transparency in that financial data.
So making sure everything adds up and there's no funny business going on.
You got it. Financial analytics helps companies evaluate their financial performance and make those smart investment decisions, like predicting stock prices or assessing the potential return on a new product launch.
So that's how they try to stay ahead of the game in the financial world.
Precisely. And lastly, we have operations analytics, which focuses on optimizing processes and improving efficiency. A great example is managing the supply chain, like figuring out the most cost-effective way to get an air freshener from Shenzhen, China, to a store in Champaign, Illinois.
Wow, that's a journey. I never thought about the complex logistics behind getting products from point A to point B. So to put your thinking caps on which type of business analytics would be most effective in optimizing that air freshener's journey from Shenzhen to Champaign, and how do these different types of business analytics compare and contrast with each other? Food for thought. Now, to really excel in this data-driven world, you need to cultivate what's called an analytics mindset. It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching problems that sets you apart.
The Ernst & Young Foundation defines analytics mindset as having 4 key components: asking the right questions, knowing how to extract and transform data, applying those appropriate analytical techniques, and finally being able to interpret and share the results effectively.
It sounds like having a superpower. And to help us navigate this exciting landscape of business analytics, there's a handy framework called the SOAR analytics model.
The SOAR model breaks down the process into 4 clear steps: specify, obtain, analyze, and report. It's like a treasure map guiding you to those valuable insights. And here's the cool part: it's iterative, meaning you can loop back to any step as needed.
Okay, let's unpack this SOAR model. Starting with the specify stage, what makes this step so important?
In the specify stage, you define the problem you're trying to solve and the specific questions that you need to answer. The type of question you ask determines the type of business analytics that you'll use.
So it's all about setting a clear course before you set sail.
Exactly. You wouldn't set off on a journey without knowing your destination, would you? There are 5 general types of business questions: descriptive, what happened; diagnostic, why did it happen; predictive, what is likely to happen; prescriptive, what should we do; and discovery, what insights can we uncover.
That makes sense. Moving on to the obtain stage. It's not just about having data, it's about having the right data. How do we know if the data we have is reliable and relevant to our question?
You've hit on a crucial point. Data relevance means ensuring the data that you're working with directly relates to the business question you're trying to answer. If you're analyzing customer purchasing patterns to improve a marketing campaign, data about employee salaries wouldn't be relevant.
That's like trying to bake a cake with a recipe for soup. The ingredients just don't match up.
And reliability is all about trustworthiness. Can you rely on the data to be accurate and consistent? Imagine making important financial decisions based on data that's riddled with errors. That could be disastrous.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation, so both relevance and reliability are essential for laying the groundwork for sound business decisions. But even with the right data, there are still challenges in the obtain stage, right?
Absolutely. You need to consider data availability, how it was collected, its relevance to your question, and whether it's reliable enough to base decisions on. Then there's the issue of data cleaning, handling missing data, and watching out for potential biases.
It sounds like there are a lot of potential pitfalls to watch out for. What happens once you have the right data?
Then you move on to the analyze stage, where you apply various techniques to uncover those hidden patterns, trends, and insights. This is where the magic really starts to happen.
So this is where those data detectives put their skills to the test.
Exactly. They use their knowledge of statistics, data mining, and modeling techniques to extract meaning from the data.
And finally, we reach the report stage where you communicate your findings to those decision makers.
Data visualization plays a crucial role in the report stage. You can use static visualizations like reports, graphs, and tables, or dynamic visualizations like dashboards that allow for interactive exploration of that data.
It's all about translating data into a language everyone understands. And visuals are a powerful tool for that. Speaking of data visualizations, why are they so important in business analytics, and what are some different ways we can do it?
Data visualization is essential because it helps us see patterns and relationships that might be hidden in raw data. It's like turning numbers into a story that everyone can understand. We can use visualizations for two main purposes: exploratory and explanatory.
Okay, let's dive into that a bit further. What's the difference between these two types of visualizations?
Exploratory data visualizations help us uncover patterns and insights during the analyze stage of the SOAR model. For example, let's say you're looking at a visualization of earnings distribution for those publicly traded companies. You notice an unexpected spike right around zero. This anomaly could indicate that something interesting is happening, prompting further investigation.
So it's like using visuals to explore the data and see what jumps out at you.
Precisely. Explanatory data visualizations, on the other hand, are used to communicate findings to stakeholders during that report stage. Think of it as presenting the results of your data detective work.
So it's about taking those insights and presenting them in a way that's clear, concise, and easy to understand.
Exactly. We can use different types of visualizations depending on what we want to communicate. For instance, line charts are great for showing trends over time, bar charts for comparisons, scatter plots for relationships, and histograms for distributions.
It's amazing how different visuals can tell different stories with the same data. It's like having an artist's palette of visual tools to choose from.
That's a great way to put it.
Knowing that visual messages are retained far better than text, how does this impact the way we present data findings to decision makers? And where in the SOAR model do exploratory and explanatory visualizations fit in? Something to ponder. Now let's bring it all back to the specify stage of the SOAR model. Can you think of different business-related questions that fits into each of the 5 question sets we discussed earlier? Remember, the questions you ask will shape your entire analytical journey.
And to wrap up our discussion of the SOAR model, let's emphasize the importance of data quality, specifically its relevance and reliability. Why are both of these qualities crucial for successful data analysis? I encourage you to think critically about this as we move forward.
It's fascinating how much emphasis is placed on data quality. You know, it's like the foundation of a house. If it's not solid, everything built on top is at risk.
Absolutely. If you're working with irrelevant or unreliable data, your analysis is going to be flawed from the start, and the decisions that you make based on that analysis could lead to some costly mistakes.
It's like trying to navigate with a faulty compass. You might end up lost at sea.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Data quality is paramount in business analytics.
Okay, before we move on, let's take a step back and recap what we've explored so far in our deep dive into business analytics.
Well, we started by defining business value, and we saw how companies like Tesla and DoorDash create it through their strategic decisions and business processes.
Then we dove into the world of big data, that massive and ever-growing universe of information that presents both incredible opportunities and challenges for businesses.
We saw how the 4 V's of big data: volume, velocity, variety, and veracity are shaping the way businesses operate, and how important it is to have those skilled professionals who can navigate this sea of data.
We also met the unsung heroes of the data world, the business analysts, those master interpreters who bridge the gap between data and decision makers.
We discussed the importance of distinguishing between data and information, recognizing the pitfalls of data overload, and cultivating an analytics mindset to thrive in this data-driven world.
And of course, we unpacked the SOAR model, that handy framework for guiding us through the entire business analytics process, from specifying the problem to reporting the findings.
We even touched upon the crucial role of data visualization in both exploring and explaining data, turning numbers into compelling stories that everyone can understand.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but there's one key element that we haven't delved into yet: the actual tools and techniques used in business analytics.
Ah, yes, the nuts and bolts of data analysis. There's a whole toolbox of techniques that business analysts use to extract those insights from data.
Okay, let's open that toolbox and see what's inside. What are some of the most common techniques used in business analytics?
Well, one of those fundamental techniques is statistical analysis. It involves using mathematical methods to analyze data, identify patterns, and draw conclusions. Think of it as the backbone of data analysis.
So it's about using math to make sense of the numbers.
Exactly. Business analysts use statistical analysis to calculate things like averages, trends, and correlations, which can help them understand patterns in data and make predictions about future outcomes.
Okay, that makes sense. What other tools do business analysts have at their disposal?
Another powerful technique is data mining, which involves using algorithms to sift through those large data sets and uncover hidden patterns and relationships.
It sounds like something out of a spy movie, digging through mountains of data to find that one crucial piece of information.
You could say that. Data mining is particularly useful for identifying trends that might not be apparent through traditional statistical analysis. For instance, it can be used to segment customers based on their purchasing behavior or to predict which products are likely to be popular in the future.
So it's like having a crystal ball that helps businesses see into the future.
In a way, yes. And then there's predictive modeling, which uses statistical techniques and algorithms to build models that can predict future outcomes based on past data.
So it's about using the past to predict the future.
Precisely. Predictive modeling is widely used in areas like risk management, fraud detection, and marketing campaign optimization.
It's amazing how these techniques can help businesses make those more informed decisions and stay ahead of the curve. Now, let's not forget about data visualization, which we touched upon earlier. It's not just about making data look pretty. It's a powerful tool for communication and analysis.
Absolutely. Visualizations can help us see patterns and trends that might be hidden in raw data. They can also help us communicate our findings to stakeholders in a clear and concise way.
Okay, let's talk about some specific types of visualizations and how they're used in business analytics. What are some examples?
Well, one of the most common visualizations is the bar chart. It's great for comparing different categories of data, such as sales figures for different products or customer satisfaction ratings for different regions.
So if you wanted to see which product is selling the most, a bar chart would be a good choice.
Exactly. Then there's the line chart, which is perfect for showing trends over time. You could use a line chart to track website traffic over a month or to visualize sales growth over a year.
So if you want to see if your website is becoming more popular, you could use a line chart to track the trend.
Precisely. And then there's the pie chart, which is useful for showing proportions of a whole. For instance, you could use a pie chart to show the percentage of customers who purchased different product categories.
So if you wanted to see what percentage of your customers are buying shoes versus clothes, a pie chart would be a good way to visualize that.
Exactly. And these are just a few examples. There are many other types of visualizations, such as scatter plots, heat maps, and tree maps, each with its own strengths and weaknesses.
It's amazing how different visualizations can tell different stories with the same data. It's like having an artist's palette of visual tools to choose from.
That's a great way to put it.
Now let's talk about how these tools and techniques are used in real-world business scenarios. Can you give us some examples of how companies are using business analytics to solve problems and make those better decisions?
Of course, one of the most common applications of business analytics is in marketing. Companies use data to understand their customers, better target their marketing campaigns more effectively, and personalize the customer experience.
So that's how they know what ads to show you on Facebook and what products to recommend on Amazon.
Exactly. They're using data to create a more personalized and engaging experience for you.
It's both fascinating, it's a little bit creepy, isn't it?
I understand how you feel, but the goal is to provide you with a better experience and help you find those products and services that you're actually interested in.
Okay, fair enough. What are some other examples of how businesses are using analytics?
Another area where business analytics is having a huge impact is in operations. Companies are using data to optimize their supply chains, improve efficiency, and reduce costs.
So it's about making sure everything runs smoothly and efficiently behind the scenes.
Precisely. For example, a retail company might use data to analyze sales patterns and predict future demand, which allows them to optimize their inventory levels and avoid stockouts or overstocking.
That makes sense. It's all about making data-driven decisions to save money and improve efficiency. What other industries are embracing business analytics?
Well, the finance industry is another big user of analytics. Banks and financial institutions use data to assess risk, detect fraud, and make investment decisions.
So it's about keeping their money safe and making smart investments.
Exactly. They use sophisticated algorithms and models to analyze vast amounts of financial data, identify patterns, and make predictions about future market movements.
It's amazing how data can be used to make such crucial decisions in the financial world.
And it's not just limited to these industries. Business analytics is being used in healthcare to improve patient outcomes in education, to personalize learning experiences, and even in government to make those better policy decisions.
It seems like every industry is finding ways to leverage the power of data.
That's right. Data is becoming the lifeblood of modern businesses, and those who can effectively harness its power will have a significant advantage in today's competitive landscape.
Well said. Now I'm curious, what does the future hold for business analytics? What new trends and technologies are emerging on the horizon?
That's a great question. The field of business analytics is constantly evolving, and there are some exciting developments on the horizon. One of the biggest trends is the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI, and machine learning.
So it's about using machines to analyze data and make decisions.
Exactly. AI and machine learning algorithms can process vast amounts of data at lightning speed and identify patterns that humans might miss.
It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But it's becoming increasingly real. Companies are already using AI and machine learning to automate tasks, improve decision-making, and even create new products and services.
Wow, that's incredible. What other trends are you seeing in business analytics?
Another big trend is the increasing focus on data privacy and security. As companies collect more and more data, they need to be more vigilant about protecting that data from breaches and misuse.
That's a crucial point. With all this data floating around, it's more important than ever to make sure it's being handled responsibly.
Absolutely. Consumers are becoming more aware of how their data is being used, and they're demanding greater transparency and control. Companies that fail to prioritize data privacy and security will face those serious consequences.
It's a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility. Well, you've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of business analytics. We've explored the core principles, the tools and techniques, the real-world applications, and even glimpsed into the future of this fascinating field.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover and explore in this ever-evolving world of data.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities that data holds for businesses and for society as a whole. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the analytics mindset. What does it really mean to think like an analyst, and how can our listener cultivate the mindset in their own work or personal life?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that's really at the heart of what we've been discussing today. It's not just about having the technical skills. It's about having a certain way of thinking, a curiosity about data, and a desire to uncover those hidden insights.
Exactly. It's like having that detective's mindset, always questioning, always looking for those clues, and always trying to connect the dots.
So it's not about being a math whiz or a coding genius. It's about being curious and analytical.
Precisely. It's about asking the right questions, being skeptical of assumptions, and always looking for evidence to support your conclusions.
So how can our listener cultivate this analytics mindset in their own life? Well, first and foremost, start by being more curious about the world around you. Ask those questions, look for patterns, and try to understand the why behind things.
So it's about paying attention to the details and not just accepting things at face value.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to challenge assumptions. Just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's the best way.
It's about thinking outside the box and looking for those new and innovative ways to solve problems.
Absolutely. And finally, be open to learning new things. The field of analytics is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay up to date on those latest trends and technologies.
It's a lifelong learning journey, isn't it?
It certainly is. And the more you learn, the more you'll realize how much you don't know.
That's a humbling thought. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of business analytics. I hope you found it insightful and engaging.
I've certainly enjoyed our conversation.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listener with a final thought. Imagine you're leading a company in today's data-driven world. What kind of data would you be most interested in analyzing to understand your customers better and stay ahead of that competition?
That's a great question to ponder. It really gets to the heart of why business analytics is so crucial in today's world.
It's all about using data to make smarter decisions, to create better experiences, and ultimately to drive success. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into business analytics. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of data.